John 1:1, and the Word was God. In the beginning was the Word. John 1:1a. Section Overview. Trinitarianism seldom relies upon a single misconstruction of meaning in the presentation of its major proof texts. There are almost always several interlocking fallacies at play. So it is in the case of John 1:1. In addition to its argument for John 1:1c, Trinitarianism manages to find in John 1:1a an elaborate, esoteric, two-pronged pretext for its claim that this passage supports the deity of Jesus, the idea being that the text identifies the Word as having been in existence before the earliest act of creation. This would mean that the Word was not created, but rather eternal. And since only God is eternal, this in turn would mean that John 1:1a declares the pre-incarnate Son to be God. To the mind of someone not yet the victim of this misteaching, in the beginning was the Word, alternate translation, at the beginning, as the same Greek phrase in arche is rendered in Acts 11:15 of the KJV, etc., suggests that the Word came into being at the beginning, not that it eternally pre-existed that beginning. Trinitarianism teaches otherwise. This last section of our study of John 1:1 will deconstruct the reasoning behind the Trinitarian misrepresentation of this passage. The beginning, Genesis 1:1. Quote, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis 1:1. It is widely recognized that John's beginning is the same as that invoked in the first three words of the Old Testament. Quote, in the beginning, carries our thoughts at once to the opening of the book of Genesis, which the evangelist, John, certainly had present to his mind. Schaff's Commentary. Quote, in the beginning, referring to Genesis 1:1, Wesley's Notes. Quote, the reference to the opening words of the Old Testament is obvious. It is quite in harmony with the Hebrew tone of this gospel to do so, and it can hardly be that St. John wrote it without having Genesis 1 present to his mind and without being guided by its meaning. Ellicott's Commentary for English readers. What then is the meaning of Genesis 1:1 to which Bishop Ellicott refers? Hebrew. The Hebrew word translated beginning at Genesis 1:1 is reshith, Reshith, which Strong's Hebrew Dictionary defines as number 7225, the first in place, time, order, or rank. English. Webster defines begin as to do the first part of an action or process, and the idiom in the beginning as at the start. So, in the beginning simply means at the start, that time at which a process or event is initiated. The beginning of the material universe. God's creation of the heavens and the earth is not the absolute beginning of creation, but only the beginning of the creation of the material universe. We know this because, 1, in Job 38:7, God says, when I laid the foundations of the earth, all the sons of God shouted for joy. The sons of God is widely recognized to be a title for angels in both Job 1:6-1 and Genesis 6:2 and 4. The creation of angels is not a part of the Genesis narrative, because it had already happened. 2. In Genesis 1:1, the heavens created by God were not the spirit realm occupied by him and his angels, but the sky surrounding the earth. The Hebrew word is Shemayim, Shamayim, which Strong's defines as number 8064, the sky, adding that it alludes to the visible arch in which the clouds move, as well as the higher ether where the celestial bodies, the stars, revolve. This phrase is translated the sky and the earth in the ERB, EXB, ICB, NCV, etc. Confirmation is found in Genesis 1:26, 28, and 30, which speak of the birds of the air, alternately translated the birds of the sky, CSB, CEB, EHV, EXV, etc. Here, Shemayim is translated air, not heavens. Clearly, birds do not occupy the heavenly realm of God and his angels, but the physical atmosphere surrounding the earth. And so we see that in Genesis 1:1, the beginning is the beginning of the creation of the material universe, not the beginning of creation itself. Keep this in mind as you consider the Trinitarian arguments regarding John 1:1a. In the beginning, John 1:1a. Despite acknowledgement by Trinitarian scholars that the beginning cited in John 1:1 is the same as that of Genesis 1:1, Trinitarian apologists insist that the beginning at John 1:1a refers to the absolute beginning of all creation. Quote, John elevates the phrase to the time before any creation. This beginning had no beginning. Vincent's Word Studies. What? Arche. The Greek word here translated beginning is arche, A-R-C-H-E, which Strong's Greek Dictionary defines in part as, number 746, a commencement, and which Help Word Studies defines as the initial starting point. Vincent's Word Studies above asks us to believe that the initial starting point, spoken of by John, had no initial starting point. Preen, quote, the word was before all things, Geneva Study Bible. The Greek word translated before is preen, P-R-I-N, Strong's Greek Dictionary number 4250. Had John wished to tell us that the word existed before the beginning, as claimed by the Geneva Study Bible above, he would have said preen arche, before beginning, not en arche, in or at beginning. Existing before creation? Quote, it clearly means before creation, when as yet there was nothing. Albert Barnes' Notes on the Whole Bible. Trinitarianism needs for the beginning cited in John 1:1a to be the absolute beginning of creation so that it can represent the passage as saying that the pre-incarnate Christ was eternally pre-existent, i.e., he existed before, anterior to, any act of creation, and is therefore the eternal God. Many New Testament commentaries disagree with this construction. Quote, the idea of eternal preexistence is not found in the meaning of beginning in John 1:1. In Genesis 1:1, we are told that God in the beginning created an act done in time. Schaff's Popular Commentary on the New Testament. Quote, We have in the earlier words of Genesis 1:1 a law of interpretation for the later, John 1:1, and this excludes from these words the idea of anteriority to time, which is not expressed in them. OTs Commentary for English readers. Eternity, time without beginning. The Random House Dictionary tells us that eternity means, in part, time without beginning, while Strong's Greek Dictionary tells us that in the phrase "in the beginning," the Greek word translated "in," N, number 1722, quote, denotes a fixed position in place, time, or state. Both Genesis 1:1 and John 1:1 speak of the birth of the material universe, not the eternity, nor even the creation of the realm of heaven and of divine spirit beings, which preceded it